Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Tajofalltrades, and today I'm going to share with you a little bit about my Vipassana experience, why I decided to do it, what I experienced on like a day-to-day basis, and I'm also going to share some like tips with you if you're thinking about going to Vipassana for yourself. And yeah, so let's begin. So in around March of this year, I really started to feel on a very deep level that I wanted to go on a meditation retreat. It was something that I naturally felt a calling for, and after researching a number of retreat options, Vipassana is what I settled on. And this is because a lot of the other options were really kind of like a spa, discussions, yoga, but also some meditation type of retreats. And I knew that I only wanted something that was only meditation, and I wanted a place where I could go to and just be by myself and be silent and not really have to worry about trying to get along with the other people present there, or experiencing any of those other social pressures that you may feel in like a group situation. So I came across Vipassana during my research, and I saw that it was free. It was for 10 days, and it was a silent retreat. So I immediately wanted to do it, and I also realized that one of my friends was actually thinking about going there in around May, so we decided to kind of go together, and that's how I kind of like got into it. So I went to a center that was very close to where I live. Vipassana meditation centers are kind of spread out all over the world, and you can go onto their website that I will link in the description below to see and find like if there's a center close to you. So what is Vipassana? Well, Vipassana is a kind of mindfulness-based meditation. Over the course of the 10 days, you learn a new part of the technique, and the first 3 days are like just like paying attention to your breathing, and then slowly they add on the more body scan parts of the meditation. And it really is about having kind of like no thoughts, no visuals, no sounds, but really just focusing your attention onto these sensations inside your body and also on the surface of your skin. And what that does is that it brings up a lot of experiences, some that you might need healing from, and sometimes really random things come up because your mind is getting bored, and because it's so used to like the chatter and the hustle and bustle of everyday life. So when you're there, you have to follow certain precepts, like you agree to not harm any animals or any living being, like even insects. The center we were in had these like bug relocators, because you weren't actually allowed to kill any bugs. If you saw them, you had to like grab them with a sheet of paper, put a cup on it, and then relocate it to like the garden outside and things like that. And we were served 2 meals a day, and then fruits and tea in the evenings. And all of the meals are vegetarian, and the center I was in, the meals were really delicious. They were hearty, they were wholesome, and it looked like they really wanted to get like good healthy ingredients for us to be able to nourish our bodies. And they had a wonderful variety of all of these kinds of teas, coffees, and things like that. But there are also like other precepts that you have to follow, like you can't lie, which will be hard because you're not talking. And there are some other rules that you have to follow when you're there. And for returning students, there are like 3 more rules apart from the usual 5 that everybody has to follow when they're there. So what each day looked like typically was, it started off with a bell at 4 a.m. and at 4:30 you start the individual meditation, either in your room or in the meditation hall. And then around 6:30 you have like the breakfast break, and then for breakfast until like around 8 you kind of have like breakfast and free time. And then from 8 to 9 you have the first group meditation of the day, which is in the meditation hall. And from 9 to 11 you either meditate in the hall or in your room as per the teacher's instructions. And then from 11 to 12 you have the lunch break. Then 12 to 1 there's a question period. So if you have any questions about the technique itself and you're wondering if you're doing it wrong or right, or like what the right thing is, so you have like the option of going to the teacher and asking your question in private. And for the rest of us who didn't have any questions, it was kind of like free time. So after the question period, which ends around 1, you can meditate in the room or in the hall until 2:30, and then from 2:30 to 3:30 is the second group meditation of the day. And then from 3:30 onward to 5:30, you either meditate in the hall or in the room according to the teacher's instructions. And 5:30 is the tea break, and then 6:30 you again kind of go for a group meditation in the hall. And then around an hour after that is when we watched like a video. So every day we had like a discourse. So these discourses were actually taped videos of SN Goenka, who kind of spread this technique around all over the world. And I honestly lived for these discourses because a lot of times he would actually be so accurate about what I had experienced that day. Even though these videos were like shot in 1991, he was so accurate about, you know, what I would have been experiencing and to the, like, even to the day. And a lot of times it was like either, you know, it would be in the discourse that was right the day before or maybe the day after. And he had a lot of like stories to share, especially Buddha stories, about compassion, about Dhamma, and it was really great. He is like a funny grandpa. Like, he really reminded me of my own grandfather and kind of looked like him as well. And he was really full of love and compassion, and you could just feel it when you were listening to him. And after the video discourse, we did like about a half an hour group meditation. And then around 9 is when all of that ended. And then after that, if you have questions, you could stay in the hall to ask the teacher, or most of us would just retire for bed. So yeah, that was like the daily schedule. And honestly, like the first few days were not hard at all. It got really hard for me around day 3 because I really felt like physically sick. I had like a high fever. I was coughing. I had like a sore throat. I had a blocked nose, and I was really like really suffering. And I was like getting really really worried. So I reached out to the manager. So this is each group. So like all the men and women are segregated, by the way. So there's like a manager for the women and manager for the males. So I reached out to my managers, as you would if you have any issue, and they try their level best to resolve it for you and really try to accommodate you with whatever it is that you need. So they gave me a lot of like over-the-counter medications that made me feel so much better, and were really kind of supportive of like what I was going through. So after that, I experienced like a lot of things coming up, a lot of, some painful things, some really funny things, some things that made me feel grateful in my life. And then finally some like random things as well, like, some movies were really stuck in my head, like some movie scenes and like things like that. And I definitely had some of the most intense and most vivid dreams that I've ever had in my life. Like, those dreams were so clear and so vivid that they felt like they were real. And yeah, it was honestly great because they always had some kind of a meaning. And then it was up to me to figure out what that meaning was. And I dived into a lot of I really did dive into like deep parts of my mind, and a lot of my deep some suppressed and some liberating desires came to the surface. And and I really tried to take it in stride, because the whole point of this retreat was to observe things and see them for what they are, as opposed to like always reacting to things with like either craving or aversion. So I really tried to just feel compassion for myself and just hold things lightly and not like latch on to them. So it was a great exercise in that. I honestly did not miss talking to people until about day 8, which was like day 10 we would like break our silence and like adjust back to talking to people. So it was like not that bad. Day 8 I was really feeling like a little nutty for sure, because I was just having like fits of laughter. I'm still laughing thinking about it because it was really funny. On day 8 I really I don't know if any of you have watched MasterChef. But one of the seasons has this home cook, and his name's Leslie, right? And in one of the team challenges, he's like, "Talk to me! Talk to me!" So I really felt like Leslie, and it led to a few outbursts of laughter when I was in the dining hall and in my room and things like that. And then there were also times when on day 8 where when I was trying to meditate in my room, I would really just try to with all seriousness start my meditation, and then all of a sudden I would hear Goenka's voice in my head, being like, "Work seriously, work ardently, work patiently, and work persistently." And I just couldn't help myself. I just burst out laughing. And that was one of the rare times my roommate broke her noble silence and asked me if I was okay, because she thought I was crying because I had done it so many times, and I was like, "No, I'm okay. I'm just laughing because this happened." But yeah. Apart from that, I think everybody really tried to respect the noble silence, and I really appreciated it, for one, because having that silence allowed us to really just work on ourselves and not compare our experiences and then feel dissatisfied that we were having a certain experience, and others were having a different experience. And also because it kind of disabled the formation of cliques, which was great, because the day we could talk, there were definitely groupings emerging for sure. So yeah, I think I really appreciated the fact that we couldn't talk at all. And another reason why I really appreciated not being able to talk is because I was one of the I think I had 2 roommates, so we were the only people who had 2 roommates. I only knew 2 other people who had 1 other roommate, but we were the only ones who were 3 in a room. But somehow it all really worked out because we were not talking and making a big deal about our arrangement and when to open the door, when to not prop it open and things like that. Because we weren't talking about these things and then just conveniently forgetting about honoring them. We actually were honoring them in practice because we couldn't communicate verbally, so we didn't know for sure, so we were being so much more careful and so much more sensitive to another individual's needs, so I really appreciated that silence. Eventually I did manage to achieve mental silence. There were definitely times towards the end of the 10 days where I was just sitting in the garden area and just observing the wind across my face, hearing the birds chirp, watching the blue sky without like having thoughts in my head. And it was just so pleasant. It was just so calm and so centering in a way. At the end of the 10 days, I definitely did not feel like I dived into the very depths of my mind like I was expecting to. Like I thought I would hit the very depth of my mind within 10 days. But that didn't happen, although I did go quite deep. And a lot of things resurfaced. And towards the end of the 10 days, a part of me definitely felt like I could stay for a few more days. But a part of me also was like kind of ready to return. So it was honestly great. Like the 10th day after the morning group meditation, we were all allowed to talk, and I took it a little slow because after the first 2 to 3 hours of talking, I was starting to get very overwhelmed, and honestly I lost my voice as well because I hadn't talked for so long. So I just like retreated to my room, and a lot of other people were still talking and out in the garden and hanging out, but I just really took that time for myself and took it slow. And yeah, and I honestly like cultivated such a great bond with my roommates. And I think it was kind of good because if I was alone in a room by myself, I definitely wouldn't have honored all of the individual meditation sessions that were like in my room. But just watching, my other roommates meditate made me want to just get up and meditate, which was great. I only had about I think 2 questions through the 10 days, which were really focused on the technique. Because at one point when we started to do the body scans, I started to actually visualize the body part because I was not able to move my awareness to those body parts without clearly visualizing them, and I just wanted to know if that was right or wrong. And my teacher said that that's not what I should be doing, and I gently learned to kind of let go of that, and then I was able to move my awareness around without having to clearly visualize parts of my body. And then one day I had another question because during one of the individual meditation sessions, I started to hear a sound, it was like a Tibetan singing bowl that just only grew louder and louder and louder while I was meditating in my room. And I just was wondering what that was about, and then I figured out once I talked with my teacher that it was just because my mind was really bored and was trying to do that, So in terms of my tips, I would definitely say stick it out. If you have felt the calling for it and you decided to go there, don't leave halfway. As they tell you during the course, it's like starting a very deep operation of your mind, and you just can't get up in the middle of a surgery and tell your doctor, okay, no, I'm done, this is getting too hard, I want to leave. Just stick with it, and you'll be grateful for it, because whatever frustration or anger or craving or aversion is coming up, it's an exercise, right? You have to learn to let it go, and just, be determined and persevere on, and you'll really thank yourself for it. And the only 2 things that I would recommend to you is to go in with, one is to go in with an open mind without any expectations, and 2 is to figure out a comfortable seating position. So the center I went to had a lot of cushions. Because during the group meditation sessions, you have to sit on the floor on a mat, and then, your legs are crossed, right? Kind of in a lotus position, and meditate. And then halfway through the 10 days, your group sittings become sittings of strong determination, which means that you can't really move. Or change your posture during the meditation, and that's important because you'll disturb your meditation if you change your posture. So don't change your posture too often, and figure out a really comfortable seated position before you get there, and figure out how you might want to position the cushions and things like that to be very comfortable for the hour. And it's definitely possible. Like, I definitely have sat through a number of hours without like changing my position towards the end. I got used to it. And if you're really having trouble, they arrange for chairs, or they give you a spot at the back with the wall, so you can like support your back and things like that. Another bonus tip I would give you is to not overeat. So like the first 2 or 3 days, I did eat a lot for lunch, because that was like the last proper meal of the day. And then like for the tea time on the first day, I think I ended up eating like 3.5 pieces of fruit with tea. And because I was like, oh my god, there's like no dinner, how am I going to survive, right? But that was a huge mistake, because I was so bloated. I was bloated well past like 9:30 p.m. Like, and it was so uncomfortable, and it was just not easy to meditate at all. And like the meditation's like honestly a lot better when you're not super full. Like, so that's like one of the reasons why they give you like fruit at 5:30 and not like a proper dinner. So don't overeat. Like, the hunger, even if it happens, it most likely won't, because you're well fed over there. And like, even if it happens, it'll pass by very quickly. Like, you won't even like feel it. So yeah. And like, it really was not difficult to get up at 4:30 or 4. It was really easy, because you're sleeping around 9:30, so it's all good. Like, the hardest thing probably was the sitting initially, and then you get used to it. If I have to give you one last tip, is do try to do that individual meditation in the morning before breakfast, before you go into the group meditation. Like, I know like a lot of us were getting pretty tired, like during the rest, like after the first half of the course, and not really getting up at 4 and 4:30 and meditating for the whole 2 hours before breakfast. Because like things come up. It's definitely a very challenging process. Because things come up and you feel like you need a lot more rest mentally even, so you want to sleep and whatnot. But I would really recommend you do at least some meditation in that morning session before you go into the first group session, because the mornings that I didn't, because I did fall sick, so I felt like I needed a lot more rest, so I was resting those mornings. The group meditation was not as good as compared to when I actually did like motivate myself to get up and even at least squeeze in half an hour, 45 minutes before the group meditation, like the first session. Like then my group sit was a lot better. So yeah, that's all I have to say. If you have any questions, any specific things you want to ask me, you can comment below, and I will definitely try my best to answer. I really recommend this to every single person in the world. When I was there, I was thinking about so many people who could benefit from it, and really just let go of so much suffering and so much misery by doing this. It was honestly beautiful, and I definitely think I will be going again and again, and even one day be trying the 20-day retreat. It was really great. Even though I didn't have any major breakthroughs like some other people did, I still had a lot of clarity. I had a lot of compassion arise. I learned to let go of a lot of suffering. I learned not to react to everything. I had a lot of old frustrations and anger resurface and pass out. It's like cleaning like a big well of crap, right? Like you've suppressed this well, and it's just causing all of these like beautiful things in your garden to just rot at the root, and just breaking this well open and clearing all this crap out is now allowing your your garden to be fertile again and just grow in the most beautiful way. So that's what I would recommend. Like, that's why I like recommend everybody try it out. And yeah, best of luck. I hope it goes well, and let me know if you have any questions.